Good morning, it's Tails from Studio Wildfire here, and it's Monday morning, and it's time for another live stream. So, I'm going to start off today by showing off my new Goblin Tribes token pack for Foundry. Um, it is the main thing is it's a token pack with lots of little artwork of goblins and goblins on spiders, but I've done it in a different way. Instead of just providing the art assets which are in the pack, I made a bunch of ready-made actors ready to go. So they're all set up. They've got all the abilities, the attacks. The spiders have the spider venom, web trap, the whole works, and they're set up so that if you want to quickly create like a whole army of little monsters, so if I just get rid of these guys, you can just grab them from the module and just drag them out. Whoops, I just accidentally clicked on that. And just every time you drag them out, it will create a different little guy on the scene. And pardon me, and it will use a different piece of artwork, because the way I've set it up, let me see if I can go to this, because it should be, yep, it's putting them in here. So if you go and look at the prototype token, you'll see that in the appearance it's using a wildcard. So that's what this little star here does, and that's what checking this little box here does. So this is, it's all set up for you, ready to go. So every time if you want to put down a bunch of goblin shamans, so here's one, here's another one, here's another one. Whoops, that one's using the same artwork. So if we grab it again, it should go, yep, different artwork, and do it again, whoop, different artwork again. So let's just say we get rid of that one, whoop. And it's very easy to quickly add a bunch of little goblins to your adventure. And there's a couple of different tribes. So there's the Nachlik tribe. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I think Nachlik is just night or dark in German. I could be wrong. I came up with that name a long time ago. But here's some goblin cultists. Let me get rid of them. And here's a shaman with his little stick with a skull on top. And goblin warrior. So every time you drag them out, so the goblin warrior, you'll notice that there's a couple of them. So there's goblin warrior, then there's goblin warrior bracket axe and shield. So it's quite obvious this guy is going to be armed with an axe and a shield. And then there's goblin warrior, mace and shield. Same thing. He's armed with a mace and a shield. So that's the Nachlicht. Then we've got the Moorland. They're sort of little goblins from the moors or swamps. He's just the standard goblin. Then we've got little fellow with axe and shield, and a little fellow with mace and shield. So yeah, and you can just quickly add goblins to your adventure. As you drag them out, they will get added to the actors list. So it's a quick way of adding little guys to your adventure, and that's the Goblin Tribes token pack. You should be able to find it in the Foundry marketplace. There should be a link in the description of this video. But yeah, that's up and ready to go. Hopefully I'll have more token packs coming soon. But the main thing I was planning to do today, let me just close that and get back to this. So last week I talked a lot about, and the program I'm in, just in case you don't know, the program I'm in is a program called Clip Studio Paint. Hang on, let me just where's my mouse pointer gone? Let me just fix something up. Okay, there we go. So this is a program called Clip Studio Paint. It's a program that I do a lot of my drawing in. And sometimes, there we go. I was just about to say, I use a Wacom tablet for drawing, and sometimes my Wacom tablet crashes. I don't know why. It just does. But what I was about to try and do is I just want to have this blue background. This is just a it's like a blueprint background that I like to. I don't know why. I just like to have it when I'm drawing. I just want to sort of make it so that's the only thing in the background. But what I'm planning to do today, let me just see if I can view, zoom out, fit the screen. There we go. So what I want to do today is I've got an adventure which I'm planning called The Needle, and it's set in my magical puzzle world called The Cube. Excuse me. And I need to I've got a very basic overview, so I'll go over the lore of what this place is. And I sort of covered that last time in the last, so let's go change canvas. Hopefully, oh, it's not going to snap for me. Yeah, let's cancel that. Do that. Is that going to work? As much as I do a lot of drawing in Clip Studio, I'm still learning some of the little fiddly things because I'm still very used to using Photoshop. Oh poo, it's not going to work the way I think it is. Hang on, let's see if I can do this. Zoom in. Oops. Scroll up. Okay. I want to have that. Then if we go down, I should have done this before I started streaming. Naughty me. Across. Okay, where has the edge of this gone? Okay, that's what I want. I'll bring this up. There's probably a far easier way of doing this, but hey, who does things the easy way? Okay, there. That's now my canvas. Excellent, that's what I wanted. I should probably save it, but I want to do some drawing. Okay, so that's my canvas. This, I don't know why, but I just like drawing on this. It's just, to me, like it's not so stark as having like a white background like that. Ugh. I don't know, I like that. So if I clean up this layers palette a little bit, you might actually get a bit of a kick out of this. This is the map that I originally made for the Warrior's Blessing, which is another adventure in the world of the Cube. And I'm actually changing this quite a bit. Well, not really quite a bit. This area in the back here. Let me just grab my pen. Layer to draw on. This area here is actually staying pretty much as is. Because the whole idea is that you go to a graveyard, you meet the ghost of the warrior, Fans Hauser, and extra points to people who actually go and do a bit of research and work out who that guy actually is, because it's actually based off a real person. Well, at least I got the name from an interesting person. So you meet this guy, he's standing at the front of his place. Now, he's a ghost, and he died many, many years ago when he was on the Great Quest. And the Great Quest is to find a way, or the device that teleports people onto the world of the Cube, and then to either turn it off so that it stops teleporting people onto the world, or to put it in reverse or something like that, so that people who have been teleported onto the world of the cube can then get back home. Because how the population of people on the world of the cube end up there is that there is a machine on the world that is still running, and for some weird reason it's just randomly picking people off of different worlds in the multiverse and plonking them into the world of the cube. So it randomly does that. So the great quest is people actually trying to find that machine and turn it off or use it to get home. So there's a huge population of people on the world of the cube who have just randomly ended up there, and that there's a lot of people that have basically decided to just we'll just get on with our lives. There's nothing we can really do about it, or join the great quest and try and find the machine and turn it off or use it themselves. But anyway, yeah, Franz Hauser, he's a ghost. This is his tomb. He's actually buried down in, I'll go to white. He's buried down in this coffin. But his ghost haunts this tomb, and it haunts the graveyard. So you can regularly meet the guy. And the reason why he's haunting the graveyard is that he's looking for someone who is worthy to effectively continue his work on the Great Quest. And he was a journeyman knight, so he went questing to find the Great Machine. So he's looking for people that will continue his quest, and he does this by challenging fellow adventurers, fellow journeyman knights, and he does this through a duel. In essence, he does like it's very sort of like a ceremonial duel. You're not trying to kill the other person, but you are trying to best them in swordsmanship. So he sort of challenges you to come into his tomb, into this chamber here, and he has a duel with you, where because it's a formal duel, you roll an attack against him, and then he rolls an attack, which is basically him trying to fend off your attack or block it. And if you roll higher than his attack roll, you will effectively score a point in the duel. Then he does the same back to you. Now, in the duel, you want to score more points on him than he scores on you. And if you succeed in scoring more points than him, he will, grant you his blessing, which becomes a bonus that you can use at a time and place of your choosing, for in-game effects. Pardon me. So that's in essence that's the warrior's blessing. So I'm at the moment rebuilding the adventure. I've actually put in so his tomb is in the graveyard of Carlsberg, which is a new village that I've written all the details for it, and I'm at the moment in Fantasy Grounds building the module for it, and as part of that, I'm actually going to re-render a lot of this original material. So the tomb's probably going to stay pretty, like the insides of the tomb's pretty much going to stay as is, except this passageway into it is going to change. It's going to become a set of stairs coming down, because the tomb now is set. If you imagine that this is a great big stone block, there's a great big stone block, two great big stone blocks, and this is looking straight down, bird's eye. So there's another stone block over the top of it, and there's another stone block here. So you go into the tomb, this way, and you go. So imagine if this is looking at the side. You know, there's a stone block here, stone block here. You come in here, and there's a set of stairs coming down, and then you come into this room, and then there's there's this another staircase, and then there's another chamber where his coffin is. So effective. So this bit's sort of staying the same. It's the entrance that sort of is changing, really, but the essence of the adventure is staying the same. So that's what I thought. Seeing this would be interesting to see. Because I'm no longer doing. My original plan was to do the entire adventure in isometric, but as cool as it looks, I'm kind of going back down to top-down view, because having isometric requires that you have all different tokens, and you have everything's different. You've got to have all specialist stuff. Whereas if you've got someone who wants to use their own tokens, whatever like that, it becomes bad for those people. But yeah, now that adventure is pretty much I'm putting that one together at the moment. The next one that I'm planning, which is what I want to work on today, there we go, is, or actually, will I draw it in white? Does that show up better? That shows up a little bit better. Is an adventure called The Needle. Now, the reason why The Needle is kind of interesting, and it'll be pretty big, very multi-layered, is that it's out near the Imperial Gnome city called the Principality of East. Now, think of it like this. On the world of the cube is really on a square basis, that each square, this is 20 miles. So from here to here is 20 miles. There we go, 20 miles. And I'll switch over to black. In an area where the Principality of East is. So if we're looking down, it's actually the maze of the world comes to a junction like this. Actually, hang on, I might zoom in just a touch. There we go. So it is. I grab this. So yeah, it comes to a junction here. So if we're looking down at the top of it, there's so these are the mountain walls here and here, and they're actually they're 20 miles thick. So the nearest, so there'd be a piece. The next bit of flat bit would be there. Same thing over here. Same thing over here. And here, if I'm using this. This is sort of why I like to have the grid in the background. What is it called? Blueprint in the background. I can sort of line things up. So that's that. Now there's the Traders Way Road. So there's a camping platform here, and there's the Traders Way Road comes in here and turns and goes back out there. But it also has a roadway piece that goes here, because here is the Principality of East, and it's a great big city. There's the Gnome City pretty much takes up this area inside the mountain wall. So this is all like caverns and tunnels and excavated rooms and whatnot. Inside here is also, there's a shrine probably about there. There or actually it would probably would be about here. It would be about there from memory. because it's actually quite deep. It's halfway inside the wall. So there would be passageways and whatnot all inside here, and all up through the side of here. Then outside on the valley between the mountain walls of the cube, there would be what's called the outer city, and it's in a couple of rings, but there's also sort of settlement here as well, because the trader's way comes along here, and then turns and goes that way as well. Because off this way is the Principality of North, but that's like days and days journey on foot. And then you've got the Principality of South is this way again, days journey away, many days journey away. But here at the Principality of East, if I just get rid of these pieces, so this is just all rough. That's why I do these sessions, it's to rough out ideas. Okay, so this is the Principality of East. The city is actually quite large. It had a big catastrophe a number of several years ago now in the game world's history, and a big chunk of this corner fell off or broke away. When the gnomes had tunneled into this the mountain, they had made it sort of brittle, and over time they had dug so many tunnels, so many galleries, so many balconies on the wall that it actually gave way. Pardon me. It gave way, and a lot of this is like hundreds of thousands of tons of stone gave way and fell into the city, the outer city outside, but at the same, and sort of made like a big hole. It'd be sort of like if you looked at it from the side. So here'd be the top of the mountain wall. So that would be it normally, and then you'd have the ground here. So that'd be there like that, and then it would actually come back up here to the next side, but it sort of broke off like this, and then all this fell down here, and it killed. So it's actually sort of big chunky bit like that now. So it's actually looks something like this now. So it killed the entire royal family of the prince of what was at the time the Kingdom of East. This originally was called the Kingdom of East. When the Great Calamity, they now call it the Great Tumble. When the Great Tumble happened, the royal family had apartments, kind of here-ish. And because they had apartments in that area, because they had a good view, when the tumble happened, they all ended up in this rubble and they all died. So the royal family pretty much died out in that one instance in time. And there was the reason it became a principality is that there was another gnome still in the city. He was kind of in the royal family, like he was, a cousin of a cousin, he was, along like a relative of the royal family. There was no, had the royal family stayed intact, he would never become a prince, he would never become, actual royalty. He was like, the king's brother's cousin, something like that. He was not in the royal line, but he was close enough. He stepped up and he basically took over the city when no one else would. He effectively, rallied everybody to, go down and save people from the great catastrophe that had happened. But he was also enacted a lot of very progressive ideals. Like the gnomes, the imperial gnomes are very I wouldn't call them xenophobic, but they are racist, unfortunately, because they come from a religious ideal that the world of the cube was created just for them and only them, and everybody else who's ended up on the world of the cube isn't really meant to be there, because the world of the cube was made for them, for the gnomes. But anyway, so yeah, he enacted a lot of laws and he changed the views of a lot of the imperial gnomes to be more accepting, to be more open. That didn't sit well with the Principality of North and the Principality of South, because they are really racist buggers, and they kind of stripped the city of the title of kingdom, and which is now why it is called a principality. It is a principality because the guy who leads it is a prince. So that's a bit of background history. But it's good to know that this city is here because there is a dungeon right here called the Needle. And it is effectively facing the city. And the reason it is facing the city is because each of the four great gnome kingdoms were established on a place where deep in the world mountains of the maze is a lock, and that's kind of why the gnome cities are there. Now, each of these locks, when you unlock all four of them, provides access into the inner workings of the world of the cube. So this is part of the Great Quest. You need to get access to each of these locks, unlock all of them, which is something difficult to do because you've got to actually visit each major gnome city and unlock each one to get access. So not only do you need to get into the city, you need to get access to it and unlock it, which you also need the keys, because each of the keys are a royal artifact to each of the gnome houses. So that's something, that's part of this dungeon. That's why this dungeon exists here. Because a long time ago, an evil wizard, he decided he wanted to invade this city and capture this lock and have control of it effectively. He wanted to take it away from the gnomes. So he built a magical fortress. And this magical fortress, that's this. I'll make another layer. Here we go. So he made a fortress that, if you look at it from the side, it looks like an upside down obelisk. So it is, let's start up here. Actually, I'll make my brush size a little bigger. Let's go 1. Yep, that's better. Okay, so imagine it looks like an upside down obelisk. Comes to quite a point. It has what looks like a viewing or observation windows at the top of it. And then down the sides, if I go back to, where was I? 0.5. Down to the sides. So down on the tip, it has writing. And there's writing along the sides. And I'm pretty certain, actually, let's go back to 1. So there'll be bands, but there's writing up the sides of it, because these are all enchantments, because this entire object this entire object floats. So this would be the ground here. This would be the ground here. So this is effectively a flying, pardon me, a levitating fortress. And it is called the needle because it looks like if you jam it down, it's going to jam into the ground like a needle. So, you know, imagine if I accidentally picked up the color of the background. So imagine if this did actually get jammed into the ground. Actually, I'll draw it in white. So if you jam this into the ground, you know, you're going to end up with this area here jammed into underground, and you know, this thing sticking out like that. So that's why it's called the needle, is it looks like it's a big needle designed to jam into the ground. But it is since it is a fortress, it is mainly it's a facility that creates an army, because this wizard had a very basic idea. His entire idea was he's going to create little monsters, and they are a mix between sort of a conjured imp and a goblin. So imagine if you meshed them together. So it's imp plus goblin. So he's made an entire army of these little guys. Now, his entire plan is to unleash this army on the Imperial Gnomes, and he's made it so that these little guys, and they're quite nasty little fellows, you know, they've got nasty teeth and nasty claws. They feed on gnomes. They feed on gnomes and each other. They're cannibals. And he did this purposefully because he wanted this army to use itself up. So he's not going to create any food for them. He's created a few weapons that they can use, but the whole idea is that these little creatures are so hostile, and they're so hungry because they've been designed to eat gnomes. Nice wizard, isn't he? So he's designed this army that he will launch them. They'll form an army, and they'll go off and eat the gnomes, and which will then enable him to just walk into the now vacant. Because you've got to remember that there's the. So he's got his fortress here. There's the city here, and there's this inner city here. So he's going to launch this army at the city. They'll rampage through. Well, actually, when he was coming, the outer city didn't exist, because the outer city is full of non-gnomes, like humans and elves and halflings and all sorts of people. It's only the inner city that is full of gnomes. So his idea was that he's going to launch these guys at this city. They will eat all the gnomes, and and then they will eat each other, and two problems will solve each other. So this entire dungeon, which is on the inside, several levels in size, many, because this is actually a few miles in height. It's actually a bitty, like it's a very small, you know, footprint wise, it's not that big. Footprint wise, it's not big, but it is level upon level upon level, layer upon layer upon layer of dungeon. Now, the vast number of these floors are you could effectively call them a cloning facility. It's magical machines that create these little guys, and it just, pumps them out. The whole idea is that it just keeps banging out these little guys, so that they all get out. They get out, and they're like, hungry, and then they go looking for gnomes to eat. So that's the entire premise of this dungeon, is that it's a pre-existing place. So I'll get rid of all this. I'll redraw it all. So it is a. Let's have it come off about here. It's got a point. Like so. And it has, patterns and whatnot on it. It's got this big observation window around the top. It would have, some bands of iconography around it. So that's effectively our dungeon. So what I'm trying to do today is to work out. Now, also part of the story. So this dungeon was set up here. And so the wizard basically floated it into position, ready to attack the gnomes. But somehow or other, something happened. The wizard who was in charge, he died. We don't know how. He died. And this device has been left in position, and it's been left on. So the machines are inside here, are banging out the little imps. They make, a couple of them a day. They make enough of them, and the only way that has been found so far to get into this obelisk, this upside down obelisk, is there's a doorway here, up about here. So if I just sort of give this a bit of thickness, there we go. So they've found that there is a doorway up the top here. There we go. There's, observation thing. But the gnomes have found, because the gnomes attacked it. The Imperial gnomes attacked it when it first showed up. Obviously, they're going to attack it. They found that there is an entrance up the top here, and it seems to be the only entrance on the entire thing. Now there is actually an entrance down here, but it's hidden, because the whole idea is that this thing floats into position. It floats along, which above the ground, and then wham, it embeds itself in the ground. So it actually would look like this when it is in position. So this, that point would actually be underground. There is then a level with a big door that would be like that. So that the army can just then spew out from this obelisk. So that's this mad wizard's plan, and there'd be a door on each side of it, so they would actually come out all over the place. Because once again, it's an army that it needs to eat its enemy, and then it needs to eat itself to survive. And the wizard designed it like that to, take care of itself. effectively. So what I'm doing today is I'm sort of designing how the whole place works with the story that I've got in mind. So that's sort of the obelisk itself. Now here's where I throw in a few curveballs, because as I said, the wizard who designed it, he died. He for somehow or other, because this actually happened during a big war. So this fella, he died. We don't really know how he died. And we don't know where he may have just actually left. He buggered off. He moved this in position. Somehow or other, the gnomes prevented his plan from coming to fruition. But and maybe he just left. Maybe he just went, bugger it. Those meddling kids, they've stopped my plan, so I'm just going to leave. So this thing, which is designed to embed itself in the ground, is actually floating in the air. Let's just do that. It's actually floating in the air near the Principality of East, which the wizard wanted to attack. And the gnomes have put in place on the ground. So imagine that, this is the shadow that it's casting. They've built on the ground a structure which, in my mind, looks kind of like Stonehenge. It looks kind of like Stonehenge. So it's big monolithic stones sticking up. Probably one out here. Well, actually, it probably won't be big stones like that. I'd see Stonehenge it's got an interesting design. I forget what the design actually is called, but it's like an arch. If I just get rid of that. So it's sort of like there's a large lintel, which I think they're called lintels, and then there are two support stones. That's basically Stonehenge. So what I'm imagining is that there are structures like this down here, and they are actually part of a magical structure that is designed to prevent this obelisk from being moved. So now that the obelisk is in place, there's sort of magical charge coming out between the arches and other structures that are around it on the ground. And the whole idea is that they're doing that to prevent this mobile dungeon from being able to move. Because obviously the gnomes don't want this thing wandering away, because it is a great source of interest. Plus also it's a great source of danger. They can't afford to have it leave, but they haven't been able to destroy it because it is such a large structure. So that's what's on the ground. So effectively you've got the needle, and then there'd be structures on the ground, electricity sort of keeping it in place. That's part of my idea at the moment with this dungeon that I'm sort of coming up with. Because it's been in place for a number of years, and what they've done is they have created a walkway which attaches to the nearby mountain wall. So there's the mountain wall here. So, because if you remember where I drew where it is at the moment, so if I just demonstration. So in the world of the maze, it's actually, so the gnome city is buried inside here. The locking device that this wizard wanted to get to is actually buried here inside the wall of the maze. And the Traders Way Road comes up here. There's the camping platform here with the road going like that. This big needle is actually located here. It's actually floating just there. Because the whole idea is that he would release his army to attack the city and, then get the key, which is what the wizard was after. But obviously that didn't happen. But this device, this dungeon-like device, is still there. It's still inside this area here. There are floors. So there'll be a number of floors with devices that create the little imps. So there's a whole army of imps being made almost daily inside this thing. Because as the wizard had planned, his devices will automatically create the imps. The imps will come out of the door when this thing gets shoved into the ground and attack the gnome city, killing all the gnomes. That was this guy's plan. But it didn't happen, but the thing's still there, it's still floating. There's devices in place to keep it in place. Now they have a walkway, which they have constructed over the years, that allows entrance into the top floor. So the top floor effectively is the control center. Control center, which allows you to pilot this giant pylon effectively. So if you have control of this top floor, you have access to the magical machinery that allows you to basically tell the giant device, float this way, float that way, effectively, because it doesn't move fast. It sort of, slowly floats off in a direction. So that you could move this thing around and attack different places. Because the whole idea is that not only because there are 4 major gnome cities in the world of the cube. This is the Principality of East, so he wants to attack and capture the keys from the Principality of East, the Great Gnome Kingdom of North, the Kingdom of South, and the Kingdom of West. All of these were actually, just gnome kingdoms when this war that this thing was made for happened. But now, years and years later, things have changed. The gnome city of West, everybody's lost contact with it. They don't know what's happening with the gnome city of West. It's a big mystery. Everybody who goes there vanishes. No one's ever come back. The Principality of East had suffered the Great Tumble, which almost destroyed the city. The Gnome Kingdom of North, they have pretty much become... They really don't care about the rest of the world of the cube. As long as everything's going fine in their own domain, they're happy. The Gnome Kingdom of South, they've pretty much gone the same way, except they've technologically kind of gone backwards. They know of all of the technology that's in the world of the cube, and they collect it and hoard it, but they don't really, there is innovation, the gnomes are creating artifacts and whatnot, but they don't innovate to the same degree as the gnomes of North, of the Great City of North. The Great City of North, they are the great artifact builders. South, they've kind of... what would be a good way of saying it? South, they've stagnated. They've stagnated. They sort of look at technology as something to be admired, but not worked on and developed. As far as they're concerned, everything that has been made, and they are just collecting it all and cataloging it. They're not innovating themselves. Yeah, it's kind of weird. They have a kind of weird sort of perspective on it. But also they sort of look at it like they know in their past they had problems with powerful wizards, where they were at war with powerful wizards. So they've become really xenophobic to wizards, and almost an imprison on site sort of thing. Even though they have their own wizards, there are known wizards, which is really weird considering that they cherish magical artifact and innovation. But anyway, that's a story for another time. This thing is what I'm concentrating on. So the gnomes in the Principality of East, they have a garrison inside the wall. So they built effectively a garrison inside here. And down the bottom here, they've built an entrance, effectively, and there's a system of levels. There's like a level here, a couple of levels where they have a pulley system to go up and down between the levels, sort of like an elevator system, because this thing is rather tall. This is a couple of miles in height. So they have an elevator system that goes up, but each of them is effectively a defense point. So if the little creatures that are in here get out and take over, the garrison, this becomes the next point where they defend from. And if that gets taken over, they can take up this one. Because they keep a garrison here and in the top of the needle. The whole idea being that they effectively cull the monsters as the monsters try and get up and out of the needle. Because there's no food down other than themselves. There's no food down inside the needle. There's effectively just this big block area that just makes these little guys, and the imp little creatures don't know how to. They don't want to turn the machines off, because then they themselves as a species will come to an end. But at the same time, they don't know how to make food for themselves, because their food is themselves and gnomes. They were created to effectively eat themselves, to fight, kill the gnomes, and then eat themselves to death. Pretty horrible, but that's effectively what they were created for. So you've got these little imps being made here in this tower. They come up through the tower and they try to force their way across and then down and out. So the Imperial Gnomes from the Principality of East, they set up this garrison effectively. Now, and then it's a multi-level facility to get out, because they fear that these little creatures will manage to get out, and again, in plague proportions, go and attack the city. The city would probably fare really well against them, because there's now more than just the gnomes in the city. This is now years later. There's now the outer city there as well, which has humans and ogres and elves and halflings and all sorts of creatures living in it. And they'd all, they'd defend the village. They'd defend the city. So they'd probably kill off the imps, because this was made to, attack a far smaller settlement. So the amount of imps coming out of this city would be able to churn through on a daily basis. But if you were trying to turn these machines off inside this dungeon, you have to come along, go up inside here, go across, and then fight your way down into the this facility and discover how the machines work and how to turn them off. Unfortunately, doing that means that you then become a target for the little imps inside this great big tower, and they will attack you, and because they're all starving, they'll eat you. They'll think, you're not a gnome, but you're finger licking good. We'll eat you just as well. So that's effectively the sort of the situation that you've got with this dungeon. Now, how this actually becomes a problem that the adventurers end up needing to solve is two parts. So, one, EXP grind. One of the things that the gnomes do is they let adventurers try to get down inside the needle. And it also becomes sort of like training for their own troops. They use it as like a training ground. Because they're like, it's perfectly fine killing these little imps, because if we don't cull them off, we can't get all the way down. Like, getting all the way down would be really useful, but there's enough of them being made in there that getting down there, and it's tight, cramped quarters, that getting down in there is really difficult to do. So they sort of go, they go down a few levels, kill off as many as they can, then they retreat, come back up the top, and then the following day, rinse, repeat. Rinse, repeat. Go down, kill them off, come back up. So every now and then they let adventurers try to do that. So that could be one way that the adventurers just show up one day and they go, we want to have a crack at getting down inside here. Because all you've got to do, when you come back up, you're effectively coming back up to customs. And all the garrison is going to want to do is relieve you of any devices, any arcane devices that you found down there. Because, they're looking for all the arcane devices that they can. So that's adventure. That's more a side quest than the actual adventure. The second option is the Garrison Falls. The Garrison Falls. So the creatures have built up enough numbers that they actually attack the garrison and kill and eat a lot of the gnomes who were part of that garrison. And they are losing, all these levels, or maybe they've lost those levels, and a large number of the little imps have made it out. So the city has a force that will go and recapture this, but there's a couple of things that are happening. Remember how I said that down the bottom here are devices that are effectively keeping it in place? The imps are going to either do two things. They're going to try and destroy those devices, so they can either do two things. A, lower the needle into position so the main doors can get access to the ground and they can just pour out. This thing can just, pour out little greeblies everywhere. Or they can destroy the devices that are holding it in place and then move the whole thing, move it away. The problem that they have is that all of the control systems, like the main control systems, have actually been removed. So there's all the sockets and everything up in here, but the actual devices that will run it have been removed. They've been taken away. So when they come out, they're trying to do two things. They're trying to destroy the stuff down here, which I'm thinking they'll probably be trying to use some sort of magical explosive or something or other and blow up the stones. But they'll have a second objective that they're probably trying to get some of the imps to go to the city and seek out the control devices for the tower, so they can then move the obelisk. While all that's going on, the garrison from the Principality of East will be attacking the creatures as they're coming out, because once they breach this garrison and they manage to get all the way down to the ground, they effectively can just start pouring out. And as I said, this place is just made to pump out these little guys constantly. The only thing that's really been stopping them from pouring out as an army is the fact that there's the garrison. It's like having it's a bottleneck. This exit is the bottleneck. So the imps, they can't get enough of them through the bottleneck and to assault the garrison, but at the same time they're eating themselves because there is no food inside here. So that's a pretty horrible thing to think about. But yeah, that's sort of the adventure which I'm planning for the Needle. And I'm kind of two minds. Like I'm pretty certain that I'll create the adventure in a way that the gnome garrison, like the relieving force coming from the Principality of East, will be so strong that they will retake the obelisk, the Needle, and resecure it. But perhaps the adventurers, it's all the stuff that the adventurers will be doing on the sidelines. That will be the main adventure. So the main adventure will sort of be around what's going on with this main attack. Pardon me. That's sort of my idea for how the Needle is going to pan out. But I'm still sort of, I'm umming and ahhing over things as to how it will all work. But that's sort of my idea. Is it's really sort of two sort of adventure formats, and this is the main dungeon. And the dungeon itself will be when you get into the manufacturing area, which is the manufacturing of the imps. It's kind of going to be the same dungeon level, just one after another, because it is just a manufacturing plan. Like imagine if you've watched Star Wars, and any of the times where they go and visit like the droid manufacturing plants, that's effectively it. It's that, except magical crystal balls instead of machines. That's the sort of thing that this entire thing was made to do. So the adventure will have the outcome that it will return to being what it was before. The garrison from the Principality of East will retake this garrison point. They'll retake the bridge. They'll retake the command center. This will go back to being just something that's making a threat constantly, but it won't sort of get to an overrun. It won't be something where you fail and the Principality of East is constantly under attack from these things. It'll be something where the gnomes send such overwhelming force that they're going to succeed. It's just they can't destroy it. They can't destroy it because it's part of their heritage. They want to hang on to it. But they also can't destroy it because they effectively can't get into it without serious loss of life. And It's like it's easier to quite simply just have a garrison guarding this thing than trying to break it apart or destroy it. So that's sort of the needle. There's a lot of lore in the background of how the needle works. But thank you for tuning in. I think I'll actually call it there. That's a lot of lore for this adventure. It probably won't be a little adventure. It'll be quite huge. But what I might actually do to finish out today, so I'm going to get rid of this. We might actually build an adventure map, because I do have to. Where is it? Grab that one. Let's have a look here. I do actually have to build a adventure map. So we've got one that I built last week. So effectively I'm going to be building another one of these. So let's have a look here. Okay, so that level layer is locked. So let's unlock that layer. I'm actually going to go and delete all these pieces. Oh, come on. And delete. There we go. And let's have a look. Here's our floor, so let's get rid of that. So let's get rid of that, and let's select all this, and get rid of that. There we go. So this is, if this is your first time tuning in, another project. I have so many projects on the go. Another project I have on the go at the moment is I'm making map cards for use in Fantasy Grounds or Foundry or Roll20, and each of the map cards is a 10 by 10 grid map card, and it is intended to be a random dungeon builder. So just bear with me as I grab out where is it? Where is? Here we go, map tiles. And I think I'm using the Catacombs map tiles collection for this one. Yep, let's just get in there. And where's our... Am I using the rubble rock walls? No, I'm not. I think I'm using the stone walls. Yes, this is what I'm using at the moment. So let's grab that. Let's move this over here, and I'll build an adventure map. So you can actually, I'll describe using Clip Studio Paint and map tiles to build adventure maps. So the main tool that I use in the toolpad is I use what's called the object tool, which is this one here. It allows you to move objects. When you place objects, effectively layers. So when you place a layer, so if I grab a piece of artwork, so I'll grab this one. Now the interesting thing about Clip Studio Paint is you've got to click and drag onto the layers palette. So this is my layers palette over here. So I usually keep it over there. Now I just brought in this wall corner. I'm going to put this wall corner. So, okay, one thing you'll notice I have turned on, if I just go and show you how to turn it on, is view, pardon me, view grid. That's the grid you can see in the background. See that grid? And that grid is set up to be, if we go to view, grid ruler bar settings, it's set to be 180 pixels each square. And the number of subdivisions is 1. You could have, you could have more. you really wanted, but I find one is enough. It might be hard to see the subdivision. I've got one subdivision in there. It's really hard to see it because I like having a grey background instead of white. But effectively, what you do is you grab your map tile. Oh, and you also have, where is it? View. Oh, there it is. View, snap to grid. You have snap to grid turned on, which is also this little icon here in Clip Studio Paint. And when you move your map tile, it will snap. See how it's snapping to the edges of my grid? It'll snap like that. And if you've got a subdivision on, it'll also snap. So I've got just one subdivision, so it's actually halving each grid square. Normally I don't. I just turned it on to sort of show you. But yeah, when you build your adventure maps, you just grab, so we'll do that corner. So you grab your piece of artwork. I've got it in a file browser window. Then you drag and drop it into the layers palette. Don't drag and drop it on here. If you try and drag and drop it to the canvas, you'll see that it actually thinks that you want to open the actual image. So it actually opened that piece of artwork, not what we want to have happen. So you get rid of that. You drag and drop into the layers palette. You drag and drop where you want to place your piece of artwork. So I want to, and where you see the little red line, that's where it's going to end up. So I'm going to drop it there just above the piece I've already placed. Boom, there it is. I then use, I don't have to select it every time, it's selected all the time. I use the tool to drag it into place, and then you just continue doing that. Now I am going to quickly put in, if I go to this folder, okay, I have, these are called doorways because they are, and I'm putting these pieces in the wrong folders. They should be, I have a folder called walls, and all of these pieces, because they're walls, should be in my walls folder. So I'm just going to reposition them. There we are. Because that way I can hide, just by hiding the walls folder, I can hide everything that's in my walls folder. So let's grab our doorway. Now, because I'm making map cards, and the whole idea is that you place one map card next to another. Oop, puppy, no woof. I'm looking after my sister's dog and she barks at delivery people. Come on, no woof woof. There you go. She's a little dog, but she has a set of lungs. Okay, so because I'm making a map card and it's going to be placed next to other map cards, it needs to have doorways to go from one map card to another. So I'm going to put, and I've been putting, come on, shush, no woof. Come here, come on. Okay. Okay, so I've been putting the doorways on this design of map card at the halfway point for each quarter. So if I grab my pencil, you'll see that each quarter, if I grab a layer I can draw on, this is actually broken into, whoops, so we have a divide like this. So this is a quarter, this is 1 quarter, 1 quarter, 1 quarter. And because it's broken, it's a 10 by 10 map, the middle is actually, because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so it's 5 squares per quarter. Let's get rid of that. So if I put them in the middle, they'll map. Every time I put another map card beside it, it'll connect up. There we go. So back to that, and let's drop in another doorway. Oops. I dropped it on the canvas. I shouldn't have done that. I should drop it into here. There we go. So that's got to go there. So I'm actually going to do sort of a map card that's going to be a dead end. So I'm only going to have doorways at the top, and this will be all wall, all the way around. Oh, pardon me. So let's go back and let's put the walls all the way around. So put that one up there. I'm just plonking in the corners. That one goes down there. So this is where we have to start to make a decision over what is this area going to be. I'm going to make it, I think I'll have just 2 long corridors and a bunch of little rooms. Whoops. There we go. Whoops, went one too many. So let's just have a bunch of passageways. So we'll have this will come to a dead end down here, and pretty much the same thing over the other side. Over there. So we'll have passageways coming down here, some big rooms in the middle, and little rooms on the sides. I think that's what we'll do. So let's just quickly put in our passageways, which means I'm not going to use these, because it's actually going to go straight to a passageway, which will be these. So let's get rid of these, the doorways, and just go straight to the passageway blocks. So this one has to be there. So we'll bring these down, put that one there. So we'll actually have doorways into here and here at this level. So let's grab, go back to our cornerstones. So we'll grab this one, and we'll put it down there, and then we will have, we'll use this doorway over here. So we'll make it a bit interesting. So go like that, and then we'll have another doorway. We'll put it here like that. So then we grab some normal walls. Put the normal wall there. So that way we've got our passageway. Same on the other side. Now these map tiles, you can pick up these map tiles from my own personal website, or you can grab them from, if you want them from drive-through. I am going to make a pack of art assets for Roll20, but I think I'm going to need to adjust the pack a bit on rename some of the art assets, because in Roll20 they don't really have a folder system for art assets. Instead, they have sort of a keyword system where everything goes into one folder, and then you use keywords and file names to sort between them. So I may need to sort of adjust the file names and come up with keywords for all the art assets to make it easily searchable. So for example, you would come along and you would type in passageway, and you would find all these different passageways, or you could type in dead end, and you'd find all the dead ends, stuff like that. But it's coming. It'll come along. I've got a lot of stuff to convert over for Foundry, and for Roll20, because I've been making art assets for Fantasy Grounds for quite a number of years. It's only in the last year that I picked up. What am I grabbing? I want to have my cornerstones. It's really only been in the last year that I took on, or I became a affiliate of Roll20 and the Foundry marketplaces. Probably something I should have done a long time ago, but you know, these things happen. You don't necessarily, because I've actually watched I've watched Roll20 evolve over the years. I have to admit, I didn't really like Roll20 when I first started, or when I first saw it. I wasn't too impressed. But it has matured over the years. It's starting to put in some features which I think are desperately needed. Like, I was so amazed when it didn't have a way of doing map pins. Map pins are basically, I personally think map pins are like a bread and butter of role-playing platforms. You need to have some way of connecting the description or the story narrative of a room or an area to that story narrative. So, for example, this room that I'm making down here, I would have, if this was in Fantasy Grounds, and let me just put this cornerstone in, and I'll make a layer and I'll draw all over the layer, because you know that's what you have a drawing program for. Oh, it's starting to look like. Come on, I'm double clicking. Don't think my computer likes me running my streaming software and drawing at the same time. My poor old potato PC. Okay, so I have a room there. So what you would do with map pins, let me just create a layer that I can draw on. There we go. So what you would have is on your adventure map, Zoe, shush. So you would have a pin, right? And there's, here's the pin's shadow. Right? So you would have a pin. That pin, if you clicked on it, would link to a page of the way I do it. So it would have a title, short little introductory description, and then another little mini title, and then description of this room. Because these notes are effectively for your game master. This description here is what the game master would give to the players. The game master, he or she, would read it out to the players, which would describe this room, and then there would be extra narrative and story that would for the game master, which would just describe what's in the room, the hazards, maybe there's a skeleton or there's a secret trapdoor and stuff like that. And it would all be accessible via map pins, because you could have a link in your description that if you click that link, sends you to, opens up the map. But the map pin gives you, its main purpose is to provide access to that description. I was really amazed when Roll20 didn't really have them. And they've really only implemented map pins. I think I saw it in the last update. So, yeah, I was kind of really amazed that they didn't have map pins. There was probably some reason why they didn't implement them. Maybe it was just a platform reason or something like that. But I don't know. My personal feeling is that it's an essential item. Because pretty much every other program has it, like Fantasy Grounds has it, has a map pins system. Foundry has a map pins system. It's just to provide that link between seeing the artwork of the room and then having a description of what that room is. Let me just whoops, drag that to the canvas instead of onto into here. Here we go. Whoops. Okay, keep dragging the thing. Okay, if you want to know what I did just there, you'll notice that when I place a piece of artwork or an asset upon the canvas, it has this little blue set of controllers. You only see it because I've got the object manipulation tool selected. So if I go to just the move tool, I can move it around perfectly fine. The move tool won't have the ability to modify it because it's just a movement thing. Also, you'll notice that it doesn't snap. It doesn't snap to anything if you use the move tool. You have to use the object tool. It will give you access to the manipulation controls. It'll also allow you to snap to guides. Now, these manipulation controls do a couple of things. They allow you to change the dimensions, so that's scale effectively, right? There is then this one at the top here, this little handle, that's rotate. Now, obviously, you can hold down, control while you're doing it to snap to, 45-degree increments. What happens if okay, that does something else. If you're using the scaling controllers, if you hold down, it doesn't do anything. I thought it might do something special if you hold down control. What does it do if I do that? Yep. So yeah, that's what that does. Oh, okay, let me get rid of that, and I'll put it back out. Okay, and let's put this over here. Okay, so I'm going to I'll have these rooms be all part of the one thing, but I'll have like a little doorway. So if we go and put, oops. See, I'm so used to just dragging straight to the canvas because that's what happens in Photoshop. In Clip Studio, it's particular that you drag to the layers palette. Photoshop just opens, if you drag something onto a canvas, it thinks, oh, open in canvas that you have dragged this to. So that's a little bit different to Clip Studio. But if you remember how it works, it's no problem at all. It's also kind of good that it forces you to drag to the layers palette, because it will force you to think about the organization of your layers. Because sometimes you want to have a particular layer above or below another particular layer. This comes in important if you're building staircases, because you want to have staircase layers on top of particular staircase layers. But we're not doing that in this case. So I'm going to grab this one. So this is where we're going to put in our doorway. So let us go about here. So this will be longer than this one. And that one. There we go. So I'll have to put some end caps on that piece of a wall, and they should be in here. these pieces. There we go. Like that. Then I just have to add. I just need this one to go in here. Yes, my poor old potato of a computer. I seriously need to upgrade. I'm still running Windows 10, and I think Microsoft has stopped supporting Windows 10 like last year. Just last month. Yeah, they sent out a message to everyone saying, look, with Windows 11 has been out a while now. Please start using Windows 11. And I was like, no, I am determined to not spend my money. But now, unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to bite the bullet. Oops. Where have I gone? Okay. I think I'm going to have to bite the bullet because my poor old computer is slowing down too much. It also doesn't seem to like, because I'm trying to click on some fault, like what's that? Double click. Because I'm using a pen. I'm using a Wacom tablet. There we go. It sometimes doesn't like, and I think I accidentally double clicked that piece of artwork. So Photoshop's going to load. Go away, Photoshop. Well, okay, I think I'm going to have to put the dog out because the dog's in the studio and I think she wants to go outside. Come on, you want to go outside? Hang on a second. There we go. The joys of looking after somebody else's doggo. Okay, so she's been exiled from the studio. Let's get back to map building. Okay, so we're going to have large rooms in the middle. So that's effectively our rooms down the side. So let's put the floor in. Go back up here. So I'm pretty certain I was using the catacombs rock floor. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so I have these 2x2 pieces. So let's go and into the floor. So these 2x2, they take up obviously a 2x2 grid square area, and they allow me to just quickly fill in. So let's zoom in a bit. They allow me to quickly fill in the floor. Oh, go away. Yeah, poor old computer. It does not enjoy streaming and map building at the same time. But it's done me good for a good number of years, this computer. But eventually, all things come to an end. So here's another 2x2. So I just use that to fill in that floor. Now I'm not going to use it in here because, you know, using two sections side by side looks a little same. So I am going to just, you know, one tile after another. But I will do some rooms in different tiles to make it look more interesting. But I will I will sort of use down the main corridor. Actually, I might do it here. I might do it with these rooms. So that'll make it look nice and interesting. Here we go. Because you've got to think the floor is the main feature that people will see on an adventure map. So you've got to do something interesting for the floor. As strange as that, it's sort of inverted from what you would think. You would think that, you know, what we can see naturally on the walls would be more interesting. But it's kind of, on adventure maps, because you're looking down, it is what is on the floor is going to capture people's attention. So I'm going to create a folder here. Now, what I like to do is I like to do sort of overlaid stairs. So I'm going to go to a different, so let's use the Dungeon Map Tailz 6-pack. It's a 6-pack. Pardon me. Oh dear. Okay, so let's go for brickwork floor. Here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the staircase. So we're going to have some steps going up to sort of define that this is something different. So let's put it in this folder. Oops. And I'm going to put it here like that, so it looks like it's coming up a little bit. And then we fill in these rooms just like this. So this will look rather different. Now I'm doing it in another folder. That way, if I don't like how this sort of turns out, I can just get rid of that folder to remove this section of flooring. So it comes like that. And then we fill in this room. So that way it emphasizes this section, sort of saying this is something special. And while I'm putting in these floor sections, so I don't have to come back to it later, because I've got this doorway here, we know that this section here is going to have this floor. So we'll actually make the floor of a room before I put in the walls. And we'll use, because there are sort of like a tile pattern that we have. So finish that one up. Okay, so we're now going to scroll over to this area. So we'll do a large room here. Or actually, we'll do a large room. We'll connect up to here. No. We'll make this a special room, but we won't make it connect up. So let's use these pinky ones. Okay, so let's go down here. So we'll have it be a big square room here. So I'm going to need this one. It'll go there. So this will be a 5 by 5, which should take out the center section. and these tiling, because you can see the nice pink marble pattern. It'll make this room stand out. So this could be, this could be like a specific room. Actually, no, we'll make this square. So we'll bring it in, because it's actually 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Yep. Which should make the rooms around it, slightly different sizes. So getting away from the symmetricalness. You don't want to be too symmetrical. Like that. So yeah, the dungeon map tiles, I do have quite a number of packs now. I think I've got about, I know there's 6 main dungeon map tiles, and then there's a whole heap of sort of add-ons. And the add-ons are all like different texture sets. Whoops, I think I accidentally zoomed in. Let's go back to 100%. They are like different texture sets. Like the Catacomb set, this one that I started with, that's an add-on set. This set that I'm using at the moment, it's a more traditional dungeon set. So the traditional dungeon sets are pretty much the standard. So for example, if I've got like a wilderness set or something non-traditional from a dungeon set, I have like a modern set. And it's all for, the whole idea is to create, block by block, like, building up Lego. To build adventure maps that are sort of like, if you remember the old style D&D maps, where you basically had a line. You'd have a line, and then you'd have a square where there's a door, then a line. It's sort of something to do that, but a little bit more interesting. Okay, so I'm going to lock off that folder so that I don't accidentally touch it and move things around. And let's go back to the where I was. So I was in the Catacombs pack, and in the, where was I? Stonewall overlays. Okay, so let's pop in the so these are going to be the walls of this room. Here we go. And so this door is a little bit off center. So it's not completely symmetrical. So this door is off center to the room, which, helps I think. Because I think if you make dungeon maps far too symmetrical, players get to figure out that if they found a secret door over here, if you go over to the same place on the other side, there'll be another secret door. No. goes there. But I'm so I made these. Oh, I'm starting to get a bit froggy. I need another drink. Oh, pardon me. Have my orange juice. Yeah, so I did. Although I make these map tiles, and I've made a couple of little adventures using the map tiles. I predominantly build my adventure modules. Well, what I'm planning to do is I build my adventure modules using 3D. So I like to go and create things in 3D. There's a program called Blender, and it's a really good 3D creation program. Does take quite a bit of learning to get used to it. I'm still learning, and hopefully I'll live stream using the program. So anybody who wants to learn along with me, more than welcome to tune in and watch me make a complete fool of myself trying to use Blender. I'm quite certain there will be many people who will tune in and they'll be like, "What the hell are you doing? Why are you doing that? Don't do it like that. Do it like this." So yeah, I'll be trying to teach myself Blender. I may do it completely badly, but yeah, you'll be more than invited to tune in and comment on how badly I'm doing, and watch. And hopefully people will tell me how to do things better. And I'll try to listen. And yeah, people will be able to watch as I build up my adventure maps. Oops, let me just grab that. Oops. Yeah, I might zoom out a bit. Let's go back to fit on screen. Put that there. There we go. That's going to be a big room there. Going to need these pieces because that should fill in that wall. There we go. So that's a large room there. I think I'll like divide this in two because you can only get from this doorway. So I'll divide this in two, and let's do it like. Where are my corners? My corners are up here. Let's use this one. Let me see if I can get rid of Photoshop. Go away. Okay, and yes, I'm quite certain the computer did not enjoy having Photoshop open at the same time as Clip Studio. Computer resources, who needs those, seriously? Computers, they should just, work. They work like magic. Imagine what we would, imagine all the things that we would be missing out on if we didn't have computers. Okay, scroll down here. Yes, there would be millions of kids that aren't playing Minecraft. They'd be in the real mines. Children, they long for the mines. Okay. But to entertain people, I'll probably need to stream Minecraft. Probably be way more entertaining than people watching me build adventure maps. Are you entertained? Okay, go down there, and this will come across, and come down here. Now I need a wall piece there, and then cornerstones here and here. So let's grab this one. There we go. And then we need our cornerstones. So this will go over this side for there, and whoops, wrong button. Oh, and Photoshop's going to reappear. Oh, was it going to? No, let's not. Okay, so put that there, and then drag and drop that there. And that's those rooms, the walls for those up and down. That's that finished. Now I've got to do over on this side. What do I do there? A bunch of little rooms? No. Could do a big long room. I like the idea of that. So let's pop in. So I'm going to need this cornerstone. It's going to need to go here. Then let's just say we bring it up to here. So we are going to need no, that's actually too far over. It needs to be here because there's going to be a corridor. And then this one. There we go. So you just need to, need the corner over here. Where's that? Like that. And just go and fill in this wall. So yeah, all that stuff that I was sketching out today, I'm planning to actually build it all in 3D and then render it. So it will be, because I think it'll be a lot more interesting, and I'll be able to do, because one of the things I want to do is when someone finds a trap, I want to sort of have like internal renders of the trap device, so that, and try and make a puzzle out of them, so that people can sort of try and, it becomes like a little mini game. That's part of my intention. As to whether it actually works out like that is, we'll have to see. Because I thought it'd be a bit more interesting than just having, roll some dice, yes or no. Like, you'd still do it like that, but, if you make it into a mini game that people could solve, I think it'd be a lot more interesting, a lot more fulfilling. Or at least that's what I think. So there's just going to be a little room right there. Like that. And we just need a wall piece over on the far side. Like that. And that's effectively... Oop, I do need to put a little corner piece there. Let's go back up. And grab... It's this one. Oh, no, it's not that one. It's this one. That one goes there, like that. So long corridor, bit of a doorway, then we'll have another doorway, and a little room. So we will need to... This one will need this piece. Okay. Almost done with our walls. Around there, and then go this one. Brings it around, and then we need one flat piece, which is there. Here we are. We need to use this one. Like that, and then we just need to do this corridor. So let's grab... Oops. Okay, we need this doorway. And it's coming up to lunch. I'm starting to get a bit peckish. Like that. Now we need the corridor pieces just to finish down through here. So let's go to our passageways and dead ends. And scroll down to these ones. And these will just fill in our passageway. So what I might do is I might put a pit trap when I do the floor. Pit trap halfway along, make players jump for their dinner. Then we need flat sections, and that should be the walls of this map. Because my intention is, once I've got these maps done, I'm going to jump into my 3D programs and render up some contents. So these won't just be blank rooms. There'll be actual content. Like, for example, there could be coffins in here, other things like that. Okay, so that's our... So we're going to go to our catacombs rock floor. Oh, pardon me. Sorry, I just had a sneezing fit. Didn't think you'd want to have me sneezing in your ear. Okay, I've got to put that into the... Okay, so I'm going to lock off my walls folder and put this into the catacombs floor folder, which I'm going to have to unlock. Which... Where did I put it? Where did I put it? So unlock that folder. put it there. Okay. So I'm just going to hide that and drag it over there. Okay. Because when you place a tile or an art asset, it actually plonks it dead center of the canvas. See how it just pops it there? Can be a good thing, can be a bad thing, just how the program works. Now I'm going to use, I'll use the 2x2 pieces. Actually, what did I accidentally put it in there. I want it out here. So I'll just finish up. Actually, I'll put the 2x2 bits in. Here they are. So, plonk. Fill that room instantly. And plonk. Fill that room instantly. Question now comes, do I want to do anything with these back rooms? What I do want to do is I do want to put in a pit trap. And it's going to go right there. So you have to jump over it to get access to these back rooms. And if you don't make the jump, into the void. Okay. So I might do something interesting with these back rooms. Once again, I might use a different texture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put on that. Now what could I do? What would be an interesting look? Whoops. Let's go. Cave map tiles? Could I make it go down into dirt? Let's go have a look at the dirt. Yeah, we could, possibly. But I'm not 100% convinced. Let's have a look at Hellscape, Egyptian, no. Will be stonework. That might tickle my fancy. Where's this? Slate tar floors. Yeah, let's see what we come up with. So I'll pop this in a different folder. There we go. And let's start with the steps. The slate tile steps. Yep, so we start with these ones. Like so. Then we start to go back up, and then we just start to fill in the floor with slate tiles. Okay. got some interesting ones. We've got these ones, which have sort of large... Oh no, where is it? These ones. Well, they have large tiles in the middle. I might use these in these rooms to sort of differentiate between the sort of corridor. Like so. I've actually been thinking of making another set of map tiles and calling it the Opulent map tile set, and doing it all like really high class marble. Having like really high class marble walls, marble floors, like really shiny, opulent, like royal palace type sort of feeling. But you know, I've really been wanting to work on building adventures, taking a break from building map tiles and building adventures. But I probably should still build take a break from writing, because there's a lot of writing goes into building an adventure module. Well, at least the way I do it, there's a lot of writing. And then we just do this room over here. Yeah, I spend a lot of time writing out story narrative for my adventure modules, which is probably the reason why I take so long. I really apologize to my backers who expect that I'm going to have monthly content coming out. I try to do something every month, but unfortunately, it's only me. I am a one-man band. I do everything myself. Social media, it's all me. The content I've created, all me. Not only just me just live streaming. Just creating the stories, building the models. I do use a lot of pre-purchased, like prefabricated models. I use heaps of them. I'd be here for all eternity making material if I was trying to build everything. But I do actually want to build everything. Because I like, I like modeling, I like drawing, I like sketching. I do need to get back to sketching. It's something I do enjoy. I don't do enough of. But this is our map. Let me just turn that back on and lock it so it doesn't get disturbed. But yeah, this is our adventure map. And oh look, there's a large room which we haven't done. We better fill in this room. So let's go back to our floor. There's always something. You always forget something. So let's go back to the catacombs. Where are our floor? Here we go. So let's grab this. So this is our 2x2 piece. So I'm going to use the 2x2 pieces to quickly block in this floor. Like so, and then just some singles. Just like that. But yeah, we're getting close to wrapping up this live stream. Thank you for tuning in. It's been good having you here. Always, if you've got any comments, requests, post them in on my Discord channel. I'm always keeping an eye on it. Yeah, but thank you for tuning in and watching. Let me just get a fit on screen. There we go. There's our map. Yeah, one thing I do is I do upload these to my website. So if you are one of my Patreon supporters, you can actually download this file and edit it yourself. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you have a good week. And that's me tuning out. Thank you very much. See you next time.